Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm your humble host, Kevin Kietzman, in the seat for an hour until the Vince Show comes your way at 11 o'clock with everything going on up to the minute in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Another great show for Pete Mundo. Mundo in the morning today, tough act to follow. He covers everything. But we're going to do our best here, including in our second segment today. I'm going to talk a little bit. I'll talk about Patrick Mahomes. And this is nothing to do with any other subject. It has to do with these, the trappings, I guess, of being a celebrity and either fake news about you or confirmed real news. And it relates to the flooding in Texas. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Also, if you noticed, there was a story on Fox 4 yesterday that basically there are sources saying if the Royals are not in Kansas City, Missouri, it will be Mayor Quentin Lucas's fault. I disagree. I'm here to support the mayor today. It will not be his fault. He may not have saved it. He may not be able to, come in and win the game with the bases loaded and 2 outs. But it will be Frank White's fault. Let's be honest about that. And we'll discuss why and the letter that he sent to Mike Kehoe that I don't think he ever thought was going to be made public. And can you imagine what happened when the Chiefs read it? Holy smokes. How pissed are the Chiefs at Frank White right now? Oh, my God. The Royals knew. I mean, they've had a brawl going with Frank White forever. Oh, my God, Mark Donovan, what you going to do? But we understand many of you have stadium issue burnout, so we're passing on that as our lead topic today and moving on to something completely different. And we're going to get personal, maybe for the first time here on Uncanceled. Personal for me, personal for you, personal for anyone listening that's ever been in a relationship. More in particular, maybe marriage. We'll generically talk about it as a spouse and marriage. But if you've been in a relationship, it counts. You don't have to be married. A lot of young people, especially today, are choosing not to get married, but they stay in relationships for decades. So this occurred to me yesterday when I heard the president say something that I don't ever remember any other president saying and being so open and honest about it, knowing and feeling so comfortable about his decisions, his record, the things that he's done as president, to go, I'm just going to go ahead and open up and say this because I'm not going to get criticized for this in any way, shape, or form. That's not going to happen. But it was a very real peek into the marriage of Donald and Melania Trump. We saw them Sunday at the soccer match in the Meadowlands. She looked lovely. She's gracious and lovely everywhere she goes. She's a fantastic first lady. What we don't know a lot about is their personal life, and that's the way she demands it. And I say, great for her. Barron Trump, their child together, is, I won't say secluded. The paparazzi get photos of him in New York. He's going to college in New York and things like that, but he's very covered. He's very private. You don't know a lot about Barron Trump, and she wants it that way, and she demands it that way. And there are certain things in a marriage that each spouse absolutely gets their way. It's the hill they're willing. So it was very interesting to hear Donald Trump say that he has great calls with Vladimir Putin, but there's 50 days until he puts massive sanctions on Russia and is going to cripple them economically. He'll do a 100% tariff. It's going to shake the markets. It's going to shake the world. There's going to be all kinds of bad things happen economically for Putin. He's got 50 days to find a way to come up with how they're going to end this war. And he said, I've decided to do this because I kept having these great phone calls with Putin. And then I'd go up to the residence at the end of the day. I don't know what time that is, 10, 11 o'clock at night. We know Trump famously sleeps only like 4 hours, so I don't know what time that is. Maybe he sleeps 11 to 3. Maybe he sleeps midnight to 4, 4:30. I don't know what his sleep patterns are. But whenever he goes up, he would say, yeah, I had a great day. I had an unbelievably great call with Putin today. We had a great chat. I think it's over. He'd say, I'd confide in my wife. I think it's over. I think we're settling this thing. And she'd say, really? He just bombed a nursing home. And Trump would go, what, really? Son of a... So when you think about this, Trump's getting tough now with Russia. He's no longer particularly optimistic it's going to end. He's agreed to send Patriot missile defense systems that Europe will pay for, but we will provide. So we're selling arms to the Europeans to support Ukraine, which is a much better way at this point for us to have anything to do with any of this. Is not for us to take taxpayer dollars and do this. All right? You send them to Europe, they buy them, and they can hand them to Ukraine any way they want to do it. So his policy's changed. And we may not like his policy, My policy's been very simple. I'm sick of my money funding that war. I hate to be selfish, but I'm an American voter, an American citizen, and I don't want my money funding that war. I really don't care that much about Russia or Ukraine. Sorry, it's not my regional conflict. I know this was all part of the Soviet Union, and Putin wants the Soviet Union back, and maybe it's a 100-year thing where the next leader in Russia will do the same thing and same thing and same thing, and maybe they'll try to conquer all of it. I'm still not sure how that's our war. I'm not. We've been pretty good trading partners and business partners with Russia. At times, we've had open countries where we can visit one another, travel. Bernie Sanders took a honeymoon to the Soviet Union, for crying out loud. I don't know why we're involved in all the conflicts, and that's one of the real tenets now of people like us. We vote against wars. We vote against American intervention. We vote for America being so strong that no matter what happens, we can defend ourselves. And as Trump has said, I'm not sure if we got in a war if NATO would be with us. He said, I know the United Kingdom will be with us, but I don't know about the other countries. Well, I think he's trying to break NATO up as well, which maybe isn't the worst thing for the United States. They're not great to us. And if NATO is somehow entangling us with Ukraine against Russia, that's bad policy. So it brought up the thought in my head, what it's like to be president or a producer and engineer and all the great things Mark does for the show, or whatever it is that you do for a living, whether you're in sales, have a small business, you're in marketing, whatever it may be. What's the value of a spouse and the decisions that you make every day in your professional life? And something came up last week in my world, and it doesn't happen very often. My wife and I are partners in our podcast company. It's successful. It's just the two of us. We made a decision a long time ago. We don't want employees, and we don't want to grow it. We like it as our own. There are certain things she knows about the business far better than I do. She's been a sales rep, things like that for a long period of time, and I'll defer to her on those. I can count on one hand over the last 25 years how many times she said anything to me about programming, about what should be on the show. She'll say, oh, I like that, or I didn't like that, or my friends like this or didn't like that. There'll be that. But she said last week, after I said what I said about Patrick Mahomes, I should be your producer. And my response was, thank God you're not, because if you had been, I wouldn't be here today and you wouldn't be living in this house right now. Because part of this job is the honesty and saying things that get people interested in listening and talking about what it is that you're doing on the radio. I'm not talking about Jerry Springer and creating a show that is nothing but controversy. But as we get personal today, I'd love to hear from you what you would do with your spouse. If you were president, what kind of thoughts would you take from the first lady, or the other way around, the first gentleman, and say, you know what, I should be thinking about that as president of the United States? Because we put something different on the president. We just watched Jill Biden maybe even run the White House. Certainly there are stories that her lead assistant was running, her chief of staff was running the White House. We know that she was involved in cabinet meetings. That's too far for me. But there's something really important about a spouse and something great about a woman, and in particular, Melania Trump. For her to say, I still have a private life, and I am not bogged down in this swamp, in this deep state. And I know you are, and I know you're down there for 14 hours a day, and then you come up here and you say things like, I just had another great call with Putin. I think this thing's going to end. And I have to remind you, they just bombed a nursing home overnight. There's real value in that. When you're in a room with a handful of advisors, and they're all thinking kind of the same thing about Russia and Ukraine, and they're all policy wonks, and they're all politicians, and they're all looking at polling, there's something incredibly valuable in life about that life partner, that spouse, that person that sees what you do differently than you do. And Trump got some of that with Putin and Russia. Now, unfortunately for me, I don't want us more involved in this. Apparently, Melania does. I think she's probably pushing her husband to get involved and do something really severe to make Russia stop. I don't. I think that could lead to World War III. I think it could lead to havoc and chaos all around the world that we just flat don't need. I'd like to stay out. I know Trump wants to stay out. I'm not sure about Melania. She's obviously originally from the region, has dogs in the fight, understands it probably extremely well. But man, I love the fact that We talk about the institution of marriage in this country. It's a good thing. A spouse, especially a different gendered spouse, can really lend something important to their spouse in their career. It happens all the time. Maybe it happens in your world, maybe it doesn't. What's too much? What would you listen to? What wouldn't you listen to? Again, it's only been a half dozen times Jessica's ever brought anything up with me about content or producing the show or whatever, and I quickly swatted this one away, and I was like, no, that's if your path to success in talk radio or podcasting or whatever is to put on the most average, stale, flat, uninteresting content possible, you will fail. You will fail. I don't think I'm a very controversial guy, and I don't think what I said last week was very controversial at all. For crying out loud, it was a sports take. I'm sitting here talking to you about a war between Russia and Ukraine. So it was a sports take. By definition, a sports take cannot be that controversial unless you call somebody, the N-word or something crazy like that. Then you got a problem on your hands. But it's a sports take, for crying out loud. Not really the end of the world now, is it? So what do you do? How much do you bounce it off? And I'd love to hear from some ladies in our audience that are professionals or are involved in your husband's career. What's too much and what's right? And what did you think of Melania having a say on this war? Should she? Because I'm guessing everybody in this audience just went through 4 years despising the fact that Jill Biden had her fingerprints all over the White House in everything that was going on, and we hated it. And I was pretty solid in saying, look, I understand the role of the first lady, and I understand a marriage, and I don't think this should just be a dead zone that you can never talk about anything. And I think a president does need to confide in a spouse privately. But I'm okay with what Melania did. And I think in many ways, it was probably something that he hadn't heard from anyone else. 913-408-7957 is the number to call. That's 913-408-7957. What say you about Melania chiming in on Russia? Next on Uncanceled. This is KCMO Talk Radio.
From the nation's heartland, it's Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
Okay, we're back on Uncanceled. Great to have you with us today. If you'd like to join the conversation, give me a holler right now at 913-408-7957. We start today with our man, Steve. What's up, Steve? Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, Kevin. Enjoy the topic today. You know, I have no problem with the president or Melania on this issue, primarily because I think the president for 40 years has been negotiating and doing deals with mafia guys and union guys and taking all sorts of information from all sides, knowing how to poke and prod and get the best deal that he wants. I would kind of equate this to Tom Watson would always tell his caddy, Bruce, he'd always say, you know, you have one veto. You know, if you need me to hear one thing, you know, and maybe make a policy decision, if you come through on this veto, then maybe you'll get another one the next day as a caddy. You know, that's how I kind of view the first lady or advisor. You know, if you really think this is important, then tell me this piece of information, and I'll do. You know, I could do something about it. I mean, the guy is impeccable when it comes to negotiation and making deals. We just saw it. He put that whole Epstein thing to bed in 3 days. The guy never gets any credit for the stuff that he does. He knows how to call people's bluff. You know, this Ghislaine Maxwell says she's going to come out and say something. Well, she hadn't said nothing. She hadn't said anything. Right. So for all she'd have to do if she really had the goods was take a piece of mail and a stamp and send it to TMZ and Harvey Levin and spill all the details.
Well, what she'd want to do is get a lawyer and demand release and immunity. And I think they would do it. If she really had the goods on a whole bunch of people and could shake the thing up and was willing to talk, that's what would do it. But this thing with Trump and Melania, I don't want to get off track here. This thing with Trump and Melania, I think this is interesting because he said publicly now several times, I have these great calls with Putin, and then overnight he bombs the hell out of people. And that came directly from Trump's wife. And I think it's cool that he admitted that. Like he would go up and think, okay, I had a good day. I got this done, this done, this done, and this done. And he'd say, I had a great call with Vladimir today. And she'd go, really? Because he just bombed a nursing home. And that would say, as a husband who went down and thought, wow, I just spent 48 minutes on the phone with Vladimir Putin. We made progress. I think this war is going to end, which is really important to Trump. That would knock you back on your heels. And that is really, that's what you want a spouse to do, because guess what? Apparently the people around Trump aren't saying that to him, are they?
Well, that's a sign of strength, not weakness.
That's exactly right.
You're willing to take feedback from that, as it could be crucial in decision making. But he's done this his whole life. He knows, the national media can't figure this out. This guy, he's a wizard when it comes to what's going to hit Putin is gas revenue and tariff revenue, and that's going to bring him to his knees, just like
hopefully it won't get to
Gorbachev or whatever, back in the day.
Awesome
so
call,
just
Stephen.
Watch.
Yep.
You watch. He's going to ace this.
Okay, buddy. Thank you. I
care,
appreciate
Kevin.
it as always. I appreciate the call. Maybe. I hope we don't get to the 50 days where it all starts, because I think the sanctions will be bad for every American. I think the markets are going to go down. I think it could hurt the economy. I think us hurting them will hurt us. And let's be honest, the 1980s were like this. We've just re-entered an era where it's all about us. When our battle cry is America first, and I'm not talking about all of us together, every single day you should be thinking about what the federal government can be doing to make your life better. Not my life, your life. We should all be thinking that way. It is absolutely time to be selfish. After the last few years, after COVID, after all the crap we just went through, we should be selfish right now. And every single move should be to help American citizens. Lower crime, better economy, all these security and safety issues, no more wars. We've talked about it till we're blue in the face. And this threatens that. And I was surprised he said 50 days. That seems like a long time. To threaten sanctions 50 days away seems like a long time. I think he knows this is complicated and hard. Here's the problem. Trump may finally be in an unwinnable situation. Vladimir Putin can take Ukraine. If he stays with this, he can have the entire country. And I think everybody knows it. Russia can take it. It may take 3 or 4 years. It may take 7 years. Doesn't seem like it bothers Putin that much. He's losing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of young people dying in this conflict, but he doesn't seem to care. He wants it so badly. Maybe Trump's finally in the thing right now that you can't stop Putin. That he started, he's looking at the loss of life, and he wants to justify it to all those people who lost a loved one and say, we won this. We got our homeland back, which is what they believe, that much of that land is Mother Russia, that it is not Ukraine. It's Russia, and it belongs to Russia, and that's what they believe. It's going to be hard to talk an awful lot of them out of it. When we come back, why it's not Mayor Q's fault, like Fox 4 reported, if the Royals don't stay in Kansas City, Missouri. That's next on Uncanceled.
From Leawood to Liberty, it's Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
All right, I learned a couple of things over the last few days I had an experience yesterday. I talked about it on my podcast today. I was at a restaurant with a friend, and the waiter came up, and the waiter didn't know what I did for a living and asked, and I hate talking about that. And so I'd rather just say, I don't, it doesn't matter. I'd really rather just not engage about that sort of, talk about the weather or whatever, fine, or hey, what are the Royals going to do? Something like that. But it got outed, and we started talking, and I quickly recognized that he was a liberal, and my friend that I was with is not conservative. And I said, the guy just had to know what my podcast was about. And I said, well, my tagline is sports, politics, and life. And I say and life because it can be anything. And he goes, politics? And I said, look, dude, I'm on the Trump train. If that offends you, whatever. He's like, oh, okay. He came back a couple minutes later. He was a chatty guy, and he started talking about, whatever. I said, dude, you're a waiter. You get your first $25,000 in tips tax-free. And he's like, oh, yeah, if it ever happens. And even if it does, that'll be next year. I said, dude, it's law. It's law. So I went in to look this up. And the two people I were with next year, because the friend of mine and his wife are both Social Security age, between them could be saving almost $17,000 in taxes next year because of the big, beautiful bill, and neither one of them likes it. I don't know what to do with these people. I don't. First of all, they don't think it's going to happen. They don't believe it. So I started researching the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. I didn't know this until after that happened, and I started researching it. This thing goes into effect, and it sunsets in 2028, which means it becomes a presidential campaign issue, becomes it's just fantastic. So let's say it's Vance or DeSantis or whomever is out there up against what? Gavin Newsom or Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania? Shapiro's the guy that scares me, not Newsom, because he could win Pennsylvania. That means the Democrat is going to have to do one of two things, and neither one of them's worth a darn. They're going to have to say, I want to continue no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, essentially saying, I agree with Trump, which we've yet to hear a Democrat say. Or they're going to have to say, this has got to end. We got to tax these people. We got to tax these 65-year-olds on Social Security. We got to tax these people working overtime, and we got to tax these servers out there. I don't know why I didn't know that. Is that like common knowledge? Mark, did you know that about this?
I didn't. I hadn't looked into it that closely.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I just assumed it's law. You'd have to overturn it, keep it forever. Mm-hmm. That would, of course, be better for the American people. So This is Republicans playing politics like Democrats. They know this will be a feather in their cap in 2028.
I would say that's a smart move.
Of course. Yes. And I just flat didn't know it. It happened on a day where Fox 4 reported multiple sources saying, if the Royals leave Kansas City, Missouri, it will be blamed on Mayor Quentin Lucas. And I appreciate those people having that opinion, but I'm going to respectfully disagree. Who's the source? Frank White? It's Malik Jackson, right, at Fox 4 did the story? Who's the source? Source has got to be Frank White. There can only be one person in this town that would blame Mayor Quentin Lucas over Frank White, and that would be Frank White.
Or his camp,
Yeah, of course. I don't even understand this at all, how it could be Mayor Q's fault more than Frank White. I keep saying this. I think I could be friends with Mayor Q. I do. The more I listen, the more I think we'd be friends. I think we'd agree on a lot of things and have a lot of things in common in our interests, particularly sports and Kansas City and things like that. I think he'd probably think of me as an old geezer, and I'd think of him as a young punk. But other than that, whatever. I think it'd be pretty good. But you can't blame the mayor. That's not where the money is. Jackson County's been funding that sports complex since the 60s. Frank White says it's some $50 million a year they're tossing in. So what we learn on the same day that it's supposed to be Mayor Q's fault, again, not inaccurate reporting. I'm not disputing the report. I'm certainly not disputing that there are sources telling Fox 4 that information. But we got a Sunshine Act letter that was exposed from Frank White to the governor of the state of Missouri, Mike Kehoe. And Frank White says, I have a plan. We're going to continue the 3/8 cent sales tax in Jackson County, except instead of giving half to the Royals and half to the Chiefs, we're going to give none to the Royals and 2/3 to other entities. Let me repeat that again because math on radio is mind-bogglingly stupid things for hosts to do, but I've been known to be stupid. 3/8-cent sales tax, millions of dollars a year, okay? It goes into a hopper. The Royals get half, the Chiefs get half. That's the way it's gone on forever. That's just been it. We voted on extending that a year and a half ago, and it failed miserably. So what does Frank White want to do? Well, he wants to fund university health because he says Trump is wrecking university health. So we're going to need money because, Trump. We're going to need money for health care in Jackson County because, Trump. And then the other is for like the courthouse, which is going to be one sweet courthouse if they get a third of that sales tax, baby. Look out what they do. There might be a whole Frank White wing on that baby. His name on it and everything. And then the Chiefs get a third, but the Royals get none. So Frank White's letter, which I'm assuming the Chiefs didn't see, the Royals didn't see, Frank White sends off a letter to the governor of Missouri. It's buried in minutia. It's not public, but because there are Sunshine Acts, we're able to find these things. I guess the Star dug it up or whatever. And so they dig it up, and here's Frank White's solution in Jackson County. Sorry, Royals, nothing for you. You're out. Frank White hates the Royals. Let's be honest about this. He hates them. He despises them to his core. He's got a statue out there, and he hates them. He hates them. This is a decades-long, bitter thing. Frank's been bitter at the Royals forever. Doesn't matter the owners. He's just been bitter at the team. I'll give you my opinion. It's because he's not George Brett. And it goes way back. That he thought since he was from Kansas City, he should have been that guy. He's not George Brett. Frank White, maybe arguably the second best player in Royals history, but he's not George Brett. Never has been. And the organization didn't treat him like they treat George Brett. And he's still angry. So the Royals get nothing. And he says, goodbye, we don't care about you. Oh, and Chiefs, sorry, I'm slapping you to less than what you're already getting. You were getting half this money, now you're going to get a third of it. Sorry for your bad luck. I'll ask the question, what in the world are the Royals and Chiefs even doing talking to Kansas City, Missouri, or Jackson County? Get out. Get out. Mark Donovan, you know you want to get out. Mark Donovan, I'm guaranteeing you 1,000%, I've got so many sources on this, wants to go to the Legends. He just has to make sure that his owner's on board. What do you think Mark Donovan's reaction was when the letter comes to light that, the possibility of renovating Arrowhead now, you're lowering the amount we get? We're going to renovate, and we're getting more money today with this old stadium. We're getting more money today, right now, than we will get for the new one. Your plan to keep us here is to give us less. What are you doing, Donovan? You're smarter than this. Clark, what on earth are these owners doing? Just publicly come out and say, we've eliminated Jackson County and Kansas City, Missouri. It's over. These people are clowns. Mayor Q doesn't like Emmanuel Cleaver. These people don't like each other. They all hate Frank White. We got 3 Democrat black male politicians that all want to be like the man around here. And they're fighting over this. And I don't even think they like each other at all. I know Frank White's a problem for both of them. But I also think Mayor Q wants Emmanuel Cleaver's spot. How do you think this is going? This is what the Royals and Chiefs want to stick around with? Do you want to stay in that political climate? You got 3 alpha males trying to pee on the same fire hydrant. What in the world, Royals and Chiefs? Get out. Hold a joint news conference. We thank you for 50 years of excellent treatment, but my God, this is a crap show. Y'all are done. Thank you, Governor Kehoe, for getting involved. We respect you. Thank you, Ty Masterson in the candidate Senate for taking the lead in the state of Kansas. We'll work with these 2 entities and figure something out. It's going to be fine. We're not leaving the area, but boy, we're sure leaving Jackson County and Kansas City, Missouri. Y'all don't run things very well in Kansas City, Missouri, or Jackson County. You're kowtowing to too many special interests. You have too many, pay no rent or whatever that thing is. What's that thing called down there? Pay No Rent is a song by Turnpike Troubadours. It's actually very good. What is it called? The Lower Rents Group. You know what I'm talking about, right, Mark? The rent people?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They got involved in killing the Royals thing.
Mm-hmm. KC
Tenants. The Royals say, the Royals were a clown show too. Because with just a few weeks left, they're like, okay, here's where we'll put our ballpark, and here's what it looks like. Nobody knew the plan. They just wanted to pass something. Nobody knew the plan. And then KC Tenants was like, what's our cut? And then the the heavies are like, where's our cut? And everybody wants their cut at the last minute. And all this news gets out that everybody's hand is in the cookie jar because of course it is. It's Kansas City, Missouri, and it's Jackson County. I think of the three between Cleaver, White, and Mayor Q. This is easy for me. Mayor Q is the best of the three. Do with that what you will, but he's the best of the three. And I don't think it's close. I think Cleaver's checked out and acting nutty as the day is long. I think Frank White should never have been in this position. It is absolutely remarkable that he got into a position like that because he was never qualified for this position, and it shows. And if that's what leadership is, and we've got a recall election, and it is a constant battle cry of nonsense. What are the Royals and Chiefs thinking? I don't even know how. It is a miracle. Mayor Q should get up every day, and if your criticism is of him, and if the Royals leave, it's his fault, he should wake up every day and thank his lucky stars that they're still involved in this somehow. I mean, this is one of the all-time great long shots that this county and this city could have done as many things as they've done over the last 3.5 years to say, we don't want you, and we don't know how to keep you, and even if we did, we'd botch that, and yet you're still considering it? Theoretically, is mind-boggling. There are better places in this community for these ballparks, for the owners. They're after their money. They want their money. Nobody else cares. There are some people in Kansas City, Missouri, that don't want to see somebody go to Kansas City, Kansas. I get that. Nobody in America cares. Sports teams are not in the city that's on their jersey. In fact, it's kind of rare. Where were the Braves last night? Marietta? We're watching the Home Run Derby. The Marietta Braves? No, it's the Atlanta Braves. Okay? It'll still be the Kansas City Royals, even if they're in Clay County. It'll still be the Kansas City Chiefs, even if they're in Kansas. Nobody outside here knows. This is petty, stupid stuff that Kansas Cityans shouldn't be worrying about. Let's get the best spots, the best locations, and the best ballparks for our team. And for God's sake, get away from Jackson County. Run from it, Royals and Chiefs. Run from Jackson County at all costs. 913-408-7957 is your number to call. We'll take your calls. We've got a couple more topics. We'll check in with Mark next. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio, brought to you by our friends at bestofferkc.com. You know, when my kids were little, absolutely, positively, 100%, not even close, their favorite movie was Toy Story. And there was a great Randy Newman song in those movies, You've Got a Friend in Me. And when I hear the song, or when I think about bestofferkc.com, that's kind of what I think of. You can think of bestofferkc.com as your friend in the real estate business when you really need a friend. When you've got to sell, when you've got to go, whether it's a personal issue, a medical issue, a financial problem, or something legal, and you need to move a home, or you inherit a home and just aren't equipped and in a position where you can clean it out, patch it up, list it with an agent, just call bestofferkc.com. Bestofferkc.com. They are there to help you. They're great Kansas Cityans that want to make it easy for you and your family to sell quickly. Over 10% of the houses don't use realtors in Kansas City. That's where bestofferkc.com comes in. So make the call to 816-338-SOLD. That's 338-SOLD, or bestofferkc.com, helping you leave the hassle behind.
From Overland Park to Oak Grove, it's Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Hey, this is the last week for our online auction with our friends at Window World. They do an autism fundraiser every year. They've raised over $2 million for Action for Autism. And what John Gillette does at Window World every year as part of his auction, he has an online auction where he gives away a $50,000 home makeover, which is everything. It'd be windows, siding, doors, soffits, gutters, downspouts, you name it, anything up to $50,000 worth to remodel, renovate, or whatever with a home. It could be your home. You could be in that industry and do it, or anybody you know that needs something like that. And they bid it online. Right now, the leading bid is only $16,000 for a $50,000 home makeover. You go to windowskansascity.com and place your bid if you're interested in that. Or if you're in the industry, tell your friends about this. We're trying to raise as much as we can for Action for Autism. Last year, it went for $24,000. Like literally somebody spent $24,000 and got $50,000 worth of makeover on their home. John Gillette donates all of it. Every nickel in the winning bid goes straight to the charity. It's just straight donation to Action for Autism, which is awesome. So please, if you get a chance, if that sounds interesting to you or somebody that you know, mention it to them. windowskansascity.com. All right, let's ask this of Mark on what he would do. The state of Florida, apparently, and Miami Northwestern High School has suspended former NFL quarterback Teddy Bridgewater from being the coach at the high school for impermissible benefits to his players. Teddy Bridgewater's a wealthy man. He made a lot of money in the NFL. And he coaches this team, and he said he spent $14,000 of his own money on training camp. He bought pregame meals for the players, a training table, healthy meals for them to perform better for $2,200. He spent $1,300 on ice baths and recovery and things like that. $700 in Uber to help some of the kids get to practice because they didn't have parents that could bring them. And he spends $300 a week painting the field. And he says, this is my favorite part. He released a statement, did Teddy Bridgewater, after he was suspended. This is, quote, "The suspension came from Miami Northwestern, and it's impossible to suspend somebody who doesn't work for you," wrote Bridgewater, who coached last season and won the state championship as a volunteer, not an employee. So if I'm suspended from Miami Northwest, I'm free to go to any other school of my choice, but I'm not going anywhere. I love this school, and if it comes down to it, I'll volunteer from the bleachers like I used to in 18 and 19 when nobody had a problem with it. Mark Van Sickle, what would you do with Teddy Bridgewater?
Let him coach.
Let him coach. That's exactly right.
This dude's just trying to help these kids out, and then these bureaucratic, I don't even know what you want to call them. I don't want to dump myself over here, but these guys, I mean, come on. Let Teddy do his thing. Come on.
They're saying he broke the Florida State High School Activities Association rules, which is probably true. It's probably true. And I don't know enough about this school to know if this is a school where the students have money or don't have money or whatever. I don't know. But it does say Miami. It doesn't say West Palm Beach High.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, if these kids can't get to school, he's giving them rides. It seems like that might be an issue.
That's a lot of Uber rides, man. $700 a month.
Oh, man.
That's a lot of Uber rides. I think I like and respect Teddy Bridgewater more than ever. He obviously is good enough at coaching. Now, somebody's going to say that the reason he won the state title is he's probably recruiting players from other parts of the district and bringing them in and loading up his team. So if that's happening, that's a totally different deal. If he's paying kids that live 30 miles away and then paying for their Ubers to come every day and play on that team because transfer rules are loose, I've got a problem with that.
Yeah,
he shouldn't be
that
doing
would be
that.
a little different.
Totally different deal. And they did win the state title. And I mean, it sounds like it must be a big class, right? Miami Northwestern?
Yeah.
I did not. Teddy Bridgewater, that's awesome. He volunteers as the coach.
It's pretty sweet.
Could probably use a lot more of that, couldn't we? Do you remember the movie The Naked Gun?
I have not actually seen the Naked. I know what it is, but I've never seen it.
Okay, they're old. They're way back. They're comedies. The guy who made them was named David Zucker.
Okay.
And he's not involved in the remake. There's a new one coming out next month. It stars Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson. Weird little tandem. But anyway, David Zucker came out this week, and they were asked, hey, what do you think about the remake? He goes, hey, I didn't have anything to do with it. I'm all for it. We created a franchise. I'm sure he makes some money off it because it was his franchise. He did all the Police Squad and Naked Gun movies. They were very successful and very funny, with Leslie Nielsen as the star in those. And he was asked about politics. And he's like, well, I just think funny is funny and free speech is free speech. And they go, so you're a Trump supporter. He goes, you know what? I think Trump is crazy, but I had no choice but to vote for him. He's not as crazy as the people that want men playing in women's sports. And that's what he said. He goes, literally what I'm watching with men and women's sports would have been a spoof in the Naked Gun movies back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He said, how can I vote for something like that? So I don't. So here's the deal. Liam Neeson is playing Frank Drebin, who is in the star of Naked Gun, Frank Drebin Jr. And I don't know how Liam Neeson could be funny. Have you ever seen him be funny?
No, he's always the serious guy.
I don't know how this is going to work. I guess we'll see. I don't know. The early reviews on it are it's hysterical. That it's got a lot of really funny moments, and we'll see. Is Cal Raleigh your favorite player?
He's one of my favorite players.
Behind Bobby Witt.
I say Bobby Witt Jr.
Yep.
I really like Julio Rodriguez, too, from the Mariners.
Okay.
But Big Dumper's up there.
Your heart's a little bit in Seattle. I get it. The big dumper is Cal Raleigh, the catcher for the Seattle Mariners, who's going to break Salvador Perez's record for home runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Salvi's got 48.
48, yep.
That's the record for a catcher in a season,
Yep.
Major League Baseball. Cal Raleigh has how many?
38.
At the
At
All-Star
break.
break.
Yep.
How many can he hit?
I say if he gets over 50, that'll be solid. I think he's going to come down a little bit the second half, but
I'd be surprised if he doesn't get 60, wouldn't you?
really? Okay. See, I think he's going to come back to earth a little bit second half.
Okay. He won the home run derby last night. How happy were you?
Man, that was exciting. My girls were watching with me, and I was jumping up and down. I was pretty excited about it.
So the whole family was behind him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
cool.
yeah, they were in on it. My daughter, Riley, actually got a ball from Cal Riley 2 summers ago.
Really?
Threw it up to us before the game started.
Help me out a little. Why is he called the big dumper?
Because he has a big booty.
That's it?
That's it.
That's what that means.
Yep.
Okay. I thought that was right, or I thought I'd heard that before, but I had to know and I had to make sure. The big dumper.
Yep.
He's a heck of a catcher, man. He's going to get a big contract, isn't he?
He just got one in the offseason.
He's going to get another one, isn't he?
I was going to say, they got off well.
Yeah, they did. How long was it? Any idea?
6-year deal.
So it just got him into free agency. He's pretty young, right?
Yep.
His dad pitched to him last night in the All-Star Home Run Derby.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool stuff. Go Bobby Witt Jr., win the MVP of the All-Star game. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled. The Vince Show is coming up next.